If you're kind of new here, just to let you know, one of the jobs that I feel like I do is or need to do is help guide you through different pastures. Like, it just seems like through the year there's different seasons, different things that go on. And the last season we had was our kind of a season of prayer. So we talked about that for a month, our time of prayer and fasting. In this season, we like to talk about relationships. This is just an important time, I think. It fits in good, with February. We're talking about love. We're thinking about relationships. We're kicking off our small groups. It's just a good time to go through the pasture of relationships. And so every year we always have something kind of about revolving around relationships. So this is probably the spiciest one I've done on the Song of Solomon. If you've ever read it before, you kind of know that it gets a little passionate at times. But it's a good way to kind of look at our own relationships, look at our marriages, and hopefully make things better in our lives. So I'm excited about this. I want to give a couple ground rules, though. As I'm talking about some of these items about relationships, a lot of times it's easy to think about someone else, like, oh man, they need to hear that, or, nudge someone who's next. Don't do that. Don't try to take these things and just kind of apply them to yourself. I'll be talking to marrieds, to singles, to men, women, and I'd say probably the best thing that you can do to get the most out of the series is to really just apply this to your own life. That's number one. Number two is we don't want to look back. I don't care if you're on your 10th marriage. This one can be the best one. This can be the one that works. God never looks back. He gives us a fresh, brand new start. I mean, it's just amazing what he does. And so it's from this day forward, we're looking at our lives, we're making new decisions, and we're not looking back. We're not blaming ourselves or other people. We're starting fresh. So those are the two ground rules for this. Song of Solomon is very descriptive. And in a few weeks, we'll be talking about pretty passionate love among couples. That's going to be in 2 weeks. I think that's the 27th. So guys, write that on your calendar, the 27th, come back. But I think it's really good. I love it when my kids hear this stuff from the pulpit, from church. I just think that's so important for our kids to hear this from church instead of in the locker room or from TV or from movies. So I think I'm excited for this series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Let me show you really quick. In the Song of Solomon, there's 3 characters who are speaking. And I just want to show these to you. There's the lover, and that's Solomon, the author, and he'll sometimes talk about himself in first person, but other times it'll be the beloved, and she's a Shulamite maiden. I'm not sure what that means, but you'll meet her today. She's going to be in here, and she'll talk in first person. And there's also these friends of the Shulamite maiden. They're daughters of Jerusalem, and sometimes they'll respond. They'll come in. So in this song, sometimes even in one verse, you'll have all 3 kind of going back and forth. So it can be confusing. I will try to point out where that changes and make that a little less confusing for you. Okay? So let's dive in. If you want to follow along, I'm in Song of Solomon, chapter 1. Solomon's Song of Songs. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. It's just the way that you treat people can be really good. Your relationships can be the best things in life. And if you're single, your relationship with your friends can be really good. Solomon's saying here that your friendships, no matter what your relationship is, us as Christians, as the church, they can be the best relationships ever. In fact, I think in some ways God has given us a little taste of heaven by allowing us to have marriages and friendships and things like that. So this is my goal. Next verse, pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes, meaning that's the goal there, that everyone around you knows that you're good at being a friend, you're good at loving people. Your name is like perfume poured out. Like you have a good reputation. People know who you are. They know that they can count on you, that you're loyal. No wonder the maidens love you. You know, I want people to like me. I want a good reputation where people like me and they know, well, Nathan, he's a nice guy. And I want them to know, hey, I'm taken. I'm married to Julie. But, you know, they know that Nathan's a good lover. You know, that's what God wants from you. He wants people to look at you, to look at your life and know that you're a great friend, a great husband, a great wife. This is important to him. And that's our goal for this series. The next verse, take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers. We rejoice and delight in you. Now it's switching to the friends, the chorus of friends. That's what they're saying. We will praise your love more than wine. So people are noticing how right they are to adore you. And then this is the handmaid. She says, dark am I, yet lovely. Today it's really cool to have a tan. Like we see it's beautiful. There's outward beauty, we think, in having a tan. In this verse where this woman's talking about this, it was better to not be outside. It was better to be seen as someone who's inside all the time and you don't have a dark tan. But she had to work outside. We'll get to that just a little bit. O daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, like the tent curtains of Solomon. She says, I'm not too much to look at, but here's why. The next verse, do not stare at me because I am dark, because I'm darkened by the sun. She's saying, don't look at me for the wrong reasons. Don't just look at my outside appearance. It's not just the outside that matters. There's more to me than just that. She goes on, my mother's sons were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I have neglected. I can't help the way I look. Don't judge me by just the way that I look on the outside. There's more to me. There's more that's going on. You have to get past the physical. It's not the focus here. Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flocks and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flock of your friends? During that time, if you were just a regular guy working with the flocks, a lot of times there'd be veiled women, and this is a veiled reference to prostitutes, who would be on the sidelines. They'd be women that were willing to trade love for money. And he's saying, this lady's saying, I'm not going to be like the world. I'm not going to be like everybody else. Don't expect that of me. She says, I'm going to be different than that. And this really brings us to kind of our first big point here. I've got three that I want to talk to you about. And the first point is the idea of spiritual attraction. It's not, we'll get to the physical in just a little bit, but it's really what's going on in the inside that really matters. It's a spiritual attraction. And I think maybe you'd agree too that the most attractive people love God. Like there's something about them. They're not just all about themselves, about their own lives, but they're in love with God. There's something that you can see, something that's very attractive to that person. And I want to give you this morning, I want to give you three things here that can help you build that sort of spiritual attraction. Here's one. Number one is to love and worship God. And man, this is probably the hardest ones for us. And I didn't grow up in a church that really showed a lot of outward worship and excitement in loving God. Like this is very new to me. Showing God, having expressive worship. And I'm not saying that you have to have your hands up and just go crazy on a Sunday morning, but I am saying, men, that maybe you could just, put your hands kind of like this, kind of like hold the baby. Tim Hawkins reference. Did you guys get that? Look him up on YouTube. He's hilarious. But just to start out, just showing God that you through your body that you love him. And I think when people see that, they're attracted to that. There's something attractive to someone who loves God and isn't afraid to show God. And that's one way that I think men especially can look more attractive. Women, amen? Number two is that to pursue my God-given purpose. I think those of us who are serving on the Create team, when people look at us and see, hey, they're not just about themselves, they're actually serving other people, I think that makes you look very attractive. This is another type of spiritual attractiveness. This is why we have the growth track. It's not for us. It's not so that we have more people to help out, but it's really for you. It's to help you. It's to help you look as attractive as you can to our world. So many other people are living just the opposite, where they're just living for themselves. But we have an opportunity to serve other people. And then we're looking for someone who has godly standards. Write that down. Godly standings. We're gonna have standards. Single ladies, this is a conversation you need to have with the guys someday. Hey, if you want this, you can put a ring on it. But until then, I have godly standards. And I think it's so important to live different than the world, because the rest of the world, we see it in movies and TV, it's communicated everywhere else. There just aren't standards. People live any way they want apart from what God has said is important. And the Song of Solomon is no different. It has some great messages. Let's pick up Song of Solomon in verse 9. I liken you, my darling. And darling is another word for, like, you are my best friend. I don't just love you, I'm not just passionate, but I really like you. You're my friend. I liken you, my darling, to a mare harnessed to one of the chariots of Pharaoh. Men, do not actually use this today with your wife, with your girlfriend. Don't say this. It's not a good idea. Back then, this is pretty special, because Pharaoh had chariots and had some very special horses that pulled those chariots. They were priceless. What he's saying here is that you are priceless. You're very special to me. Your cheeks are beautiful. He's talking about her beauty. With earrings, your neck with strings of jewels. So long before he even touches her, he's speaking words to her, speaking sweet words about her beauty. And I think this is really great. This is a good thing for us to follow. We will make your earrings of gold, studded with silver. While the king was at his table, my perfume spread its fragrance. Meaning, even in public, you would celebrate me. It wasn't just in private, but even when you were with your friends, you would say nice things about me. My lover is to me a sachet of myrrh resting between my breasts. My lover to me is a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyard of En-Gedi. So even when you're away, I still think of you. I still love you and have good words to say about you. I have this sachet that I'm holding on to. It's so much more than the physical. It's not just spiritual, but it's also, this is number 2 if you're taking notes. It's also an emotional attraction, I think if you spend a little bit more time on your feelings and on speaking how you feel to the other person, that's going to be very attractive. That's going to draw them to you. And women, just for a minute here, I just want to talk to you specifically. Here's some things that you can develop. And number 1 is to value them. Value your husband. This is when you speak words like, hey, you are the best. I just prize you. I think that you're great. And I know some of you are probably thinking, well, he's not that great. I mean, I know other guys that can do this stuff better. But listen, I think if you're not liking what you're seeing, maybe you should look at what you're saying. Because I think your words, just by encouraging him and saying kind things to him, can change him. I think the more that you praise him, the more he'll become who you want him to be. And that's why we honor people. That's why we honor people. Whether they deserve it or not, we honor them. We say words of kindness to them and about them to help them change. The next thing is similar. It's speaking life to them. It's watching your words. Watch out. Men, you should probably focus on your wife as who they are. Oh man, you are so beautiful. Oh, I love your patience. Complimenting them on who they are is so important and will just go so far for women. And just celebrating who they are. I do this to you. Instead of coming up here and saying, hey, man, good thing Jesus died for you. Otherwise, you'd be in a real bad place. You'd be going to hellfire real quick. No, I don't do that to you. I stand up here and I see the best in you. I encourage the best in you. It's amazing. The more that we do that as a church, people start stepping up out of that muck that they're in. People start changing their lives just by speaking affirmation and speaking words of life to people. And we can do that. Women, here's your tip, is that you don't need to focus necessarily on what he's like or who he is, but if you focus on what he does, that'll go a long ways. For example, yesterday I was doing some drywall patching in our house, and when I was kind of done, it didn't look the greatest, but I told my wife, hey, come here, come look at what I did. And she's like, oh yeah, you're the man, you did that. And I just love it. If I do something, some act of service, and Julie comes up and notices that, I just love that. It helps, it builds me up. And ladies, if you're not doing that to your man, someone else is gonna do that. Someone at work, someone somewhere else is going to start saying something. It's never just lust that causes a man to go and break his marriage vows. It always starts with an emotional attraction. That's where it all starts. So ladies, if you want to keep your men, keep them happy, say something nice about what they do. Just praise them for that. I'm just trying to help you out here. I hope this is good. It's speaking life to people. And the next thing is thinking good thoughts about them. That's the sachet in your breast. You are, even when they're gone, you're thinking the best thoughts of them. Even when I'm late to come home from work, Julie's not thinking, oh, I wonder who he's with. No, she's trusting. She's thinking good thoughts of me even when I'm gone. And that's such an important thing, even for our own mental health. So it's an emotional attraction. Look at this in chapter 1, verse 15. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes are doves. So he's moving now to the physical. He's getting there. How handsome you are, my lover. Oh, how charming. The next verse he says, and your bed is verdant. So they're already thinking about, man, it'd be so nice. It'll be so nice to move in this direction. But look at this. The beams of our house are cedars. Our rafters are firs. Even though they're excited to go where a marriage goes, they're like, our foundation is strong. We're not going to just do this like the rest of the world. We're going to do it right. We've got a strong foundation. We're going to do this, but we're going to do it right. So here's the third attraction. If you're taking notes, write this down, and that is the physical attraction. And in 2 weeks, we'll talk about this, February 27th. This will be like the whole entire message will just be on this, out of Song of Solomon. They did this right. This couple did it right. She went from, hey, don't look at my exterior. I'm nothing special to look at, to where she can say this. She can say that you said that you treated me so well that now I'm a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. And then look at this. He says, like a lily among thorns is my darling among the maidens. He's noticing that things are getting a little bit out of order. It goes on, strengthen me with raisins, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. At that time, raisins were a little bit like, I don't know, oysters are to us, or cheesecake. I don't know, kind of an aphrodisiac. Is cheesecake an aphrodisiac? I don't know. Maybe in our family it is. But he's saying this is getting me, I'm getting really excited about this. And then his left arm is under my head, his right arm embraced me. He's doing that smooth move. He's moving in real slow. And she notices this. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you. This is kind of funny. I charge you by the gazelles, by the does of the field. Do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Like, there's going to be a time where you have to say, hold on. we're going to get this right. We're not going to move in this direction until we get it. We do it God's way. What's really cool about the entire Song of Solomon is that it keeps reminding us that love, that sex is all God's idea. He didn't one afternoon look out in the bushes and see, Adam and Eve out there and he's like, "Oh, what's going on out there?" No. He created them to do that, to be that way. He created it, he valued it, he loves it. But he made some rules around it. And we're going to be talking about that in a couple weeks. But the important thing is that God is the creator. It's God. It's a part of who God is. And if we can keep it in the order that God made it, our lives will be so much better. I think sometimes when we get those things out of order, that can be the most hurtful parts of our lives. That can mess up a lot of relationships. That can hurt us personally. As we've been talking about this topic, I know a few of you have probably been thinking, well, you don't know my husband. You don't know my life. You don't know my past. And I just want to encourage you with these words. I just want to remind you what God has done in your life, what he's done with me. Before I came to Christ, there was nothing attractive about me. I mean, I could have come to God and said, "Here I am," and he could have said, "Well, you're not attractive at all you think about is yourself. All you worry about is what the world thinks, and I don't want you." And he would have been right. He would have been, I would have deserved that. But he didn't do that at all. Even when there was nothing good about me that could have attracted me to God, he still accepted me. He still loved me. And he does that for you too. When we come to him with our past, with our brokenness, he's not looking at us and saying, no, that's not good enough. He's loving us just the way we are, just the way we come to him, with all of our baggage, all of that junk. I think sometimes it's good just to remind us of that. I think the reason why he does that is because he knows that if he loves you, you're going to change. I made that decision when I was 16. I'm 46 now, so it was like 30 years ago. And God has changed me. I'm not the same way I was. I can love unlovable people now, not because I'm that good of a guy, but because God has changed me. He has loved me unconditionally. And he's changed me because of that. I just want to pray for you. Here's the last thing. If you're taking notes, you can write this down. That we find love not by finding the perfect person, but by seeing the imperfect perfectly.